All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Mind Over Matter. We got episode 58 here with Thomas and Kristopher. Was planning on doing these separately, but Kevin is nowhere to be found right now. He's MIA. So we're just gonna hop on. Got a little squad here. Talk probably mostly Christ. I that's the area in my life that I need help with the most, just understanding him and understanding how my life can be better through him. Through all religions, really. To me, I'm more of a non-denominational Christian, but I go to mass sometimes. I go, Greek Orthodox churches. I kind of just do it all because it's the one thing that I am not well versed on. So
Yeah.
got two fellas here that seem to be more in tune with it than I am for sure. And yeah, we'll get into most of that, and then before that, we'll go into your backgrounds. But we'll launch the intro, and we will see y'all in the episode. All right, baby, let's get to it. First off, it is Tomas, right?
Tomas.
Yeah, Tomas, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good man. Very happy to be here. It's always a pleasure chatting with the lads from overseas, and I'm excited to see what comes up.
Yes, sir. How about you, Kristopher, man? How you doing today, man?
I am feeling so blessed. I feel like right now it's just a great season of my life. I'm building my life in Montana here and figuring shit out and understanding what the Lord's will for me is, but not always understanding, but getting there, you know.
Yeah, it's what I'm trying to understand at least.
Yeah.
Minimum. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. We'll go into backgrounds because Tomas, you got an interesting one, especially to everyone that I'll share the podcast with. So you want to just kind of start with how you grew up because you live on a farm now, right, with your family?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was
dive into that, man.
born in Argentina actually. So both of my parents are from there, and we immigrated to New Zealand pretty early on, so I was still just a baby. And my dad had studied agriculture in university, so started dairy farming in the North Island of New Zealand, and did that for about 5 years, and then flew back home. My granddad had a tumor, so it was getting a bit rough. The family farm over there, we had to go and run it. Still pretty young, obviously, but um, and then flew back here in 2010. So pretty much when I was like 9 years old, we came back to New Zealand for the last time. And yeah, I guess since then life's gotten better every year. But just sort of went to high school, just a regular kid, playing games and stuff. My first year out of school was the first year of COVID. So I'd started studying history and political science in university. So topics that I was pretty passionate about. I was a big reader as well as playing video games. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise, I think, because COVID was a bit of a wake up call, or it sent me home. And I was like, all right, well, I don't have this preset path anymore where I'm going to study for 3 years. Now I've actually kind of got to sit down and think about what I'm going to do. So the first few months, it was just like doing uni online and playing games with the boys. I wasn't a big gamer, but it was like enough of a thing where I was like not doing other stuff. Like I just play games, I like wouldn't socialize, it's sort of your classic stuff. But then dad was a few workers short because we usually get guys from overseas to work for us. And he was giving me a few part-time hours. And, when I was like 16 and 17, I was like, there's no way I'm going to work on the farm. It's tough work. It's outdoors. It's boring. I just want to sit inside in an air-conditioned room and do something that I like doing, which is fair enough. But I
Yeah.
started working and I realized I actually liked it. Um, like, because you're out in the sun all day, you actually do activities that you don't know how to do. So it's interesting learning new stuff. And because we were so short of people, I kind of stepped into a management position as well. So it was very engaging for me, at least the first like year or two. So that was sort of like the first step, like on back on track for me. Not that I was super off track, but I guess you're just young. You have so much to learn and like so many different areas that you need to develop that really doing anything new is super good. And then that same year I started listening to guys like Jordan Peterson and Jocko Willink, and that really sort of started opening a few doors in my head.
Yeah, that's where it all begins, baby.
So it all begins. So I was like, just at work, just binging Jordan Peterson lectures, absolutely loving it. And sort of there were a good few months like that where I like didn't even talk to anyone. I was just grinding, listening to podcasts. Then I started going to the gym, and at that point, well, I would have been like 19 years old. I thought I had my whole life figured out.
Yeah.
Now that I had a job and went to the gym and stuff, there's a whole lot more to come. But that was a good little time in my life for sure. But I was still, I guess, even if you're raised Catholic or Christian, like you have like the ideas in your head, they're not wrong, like they're still correct, but you just haven't lived it properly, or you haven't like you still have to come to that yourself. You have to take that step forwards yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I don't that's why I don't hate it too much that I wasn't raised a certain way, because you still have to come to that like personal relationship with God on your own. There's no one that could push you towards it.
Yeah,
There's no one that biggest thing I am upset about would be not learning the story. Not learning the story of the Bible, and not learning any of it, not being able to go through it in school, whatever it was. I just didn't focus on that. So when I hit my like you went through COVID and all that. When I hit my low, I had to learn it at my low instead of
yeah,
learn it before everything comes crashing down on me. Like,
yeah. I
it's a
guess
little
that is the
scary.
benefit. Yeah, like if you have it from childhood, you have a bit more of a base, like when you do go and take that step yourself. Um, but yeah, as you said, everyone has to take it. Like it doesn't matter how you were brought up as a child, really. Um, but yeah, I guess this would have been like 2021. I really didn't have any friends. Like I had a few guys online who I talked to who are kind of similar, but in real life, there just wasn't like anyone like me. Um, and then I ran into a girl at mass one day, and she was like, "Oh, you need to come meet this group. They're having a barbecue next week or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, sweet, sounds good." And that was kind of when I met like this whole new friend group, like a little group of boys and girls, and just so solid, man. Like I was just amazed how like all of them were passionate, like they were faithful, they were just really good guys and girls. And we went on this like camp together. It was like a fortitude camp, and that was just really when I started making friends with them. There was one guy in particular who I became really good friends with, and he was the oldest of 7 kids, and I'm the oldest of 7 kids as well. So we sort of connected on heaps of levels. Um,
Yeah.
and it was really him who like started asking. Well, he didn't ask me any questions, but I saw the way he was living, and I asked him questions. I was like, okay, why do you pray this way? Like, why are you praying like this? Or why are you doing this when you go to mass? Like, he was doing stuff that I hadn't seen before, and just talking to him, I like, because maybe like listening to Jordan Peterson and stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I know these ideas are true, but now I was seeing this guy who was really living it out, and that was really what sort of the example that sort of brought me fully back to the faith. Not that I'd ever lost it, but it's like I had this intellectual belief in God, but like when it came to the day to day, I was like, when I pray, like how do I even interact? Like how do I even talk to Jesus, or what do I even do when I'm at mass? Am I just sitting there listening, or how do I actually participate during the mass?
Yeah.
Like that was sort of like the second stage. Like I thought, oh, 19, sweet, this seems how it is. Then I met this guy and met all these other people, and I was like, shoot, I've got all this stuff that I've still got to work on. So that was like a little second development there. And I guess since then, man, there's just been so much that I've had to like learn and just think about myself, like of different virtues that I'm growing. Like, okay, I'm not watching pornography anymore, but the virtue of chastity, like how should I actually be thinking about relationships with girls? Like how should I be treating them? Like what habits do I need to like cultivate in myself to make sure that I'm pure of heart, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
feel
started getting into that mindset too. It's like it's all right, I took the first step. What's after this? Like it's essentially thinking for yourself finally. Like you could
Yeah.
the Bible lays out a very good groundwork for really any situation you need. But you still have to think about it yourself. There's like you said,
Yeah.
I watched hours and hours and hours and hours of Jordan Peterson. Then you finally run into someone who's like, wow, look at this guy. This guy's doing it all. You can do it all. You can like me, I started people would think I'm kind of crazy. I started paying attention to even how I was brushing my teeth. I just steadily doing the same thing every single day. And it's like you said,
Yeah.
when it comes to relationships, it's like, all right, am I really being the best I can be for a relationship? I mean, a lot of people, I'm assuming a lot of people that listen to this have gone through some type of relationship, and we haven't really talked about it too much, but I went through my fair share um, in the army, and then when I got out the army, and it's very easy to go through a relationship and then end up sad and depressed when it ends, and then trying to jump into a new relationship while you're sad and depressed, and that, from my perspective, is one of the worst things you can do for yourself. Like you haven't thought anything through, you can't think for yourself yet, and you just jump right into another one without really analyzing how it should be. It's not something it's not something we're taught, really. Like, you just kinda
Nah,
figure
nah.
that out.
No one tells you it. That's the tough thing, man. I guess it's kind of good having to figure it out, but it's way harder. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you might get there, but it's been a few heartbreaks and a lot of struggle. But like, I love the like God first, me second, like in relation to a girl. Um, but yeah, I guess yeah, it's tough, man, because you fall. It's much easier to fall in love with a girl than to love God. The girl's in
Yeah.
front of you, God isn't most of the time. Uh,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like what you're talking about with the like those frameworks that you build, because you grow up in structure and you start learning things of what your parents teach you and where you're raised, and you kind of learn that as just knowledge, head knowledge. But then like you guys were talking about, as you start to live, you start to like realize and be like, oh, this is how I apply this. Like this is, it actually has meaning and is useful. And that's, I think, when you really start to grow up, when you start using that in everyday life and figure out, well, what is meaningful to me, what is important to me, what works, what doesn't, what resonates with me. And I think that a lot of people don't really go through that, and I think that's one of the like one issue that some people have with religion, is that they see it as people just following this doctrine that's been given into them, this ideology, without um, like heart behind it, of like, this is something you should really feel passionate about, of like, this isn't just words on a page that we're following because these are the rules, but because we want to have a
yeah,
relationship.
Yeah, and that's why I like church so much, and even, like, my first time going, you could feel the energy of everybody there to improve on themselves.
Right. And that's what it's
That's
about. Like, everyone, they have a passion, like, that's, some churches don't have that, but like the church that I go to that I just recently found, I love that. I feel that so many people there are longing to be closer to Jesus. Like, they want to, live and learn and grow.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's how it should be. Because, like, for me, going to mass, it's interesting. It's interesting how this has happened, like, over time. But like a lot of Catholics, like a lot of people that do grow up in that framework and do grow up going to mass, they get tricked into thinking that that's all it is.
Right.
And you go to mass and you don't feel what you're saying. You don't feel all these people's passion because they're not like engaging properly. They're not. They maybe don't even not even talking to you that much, and then you just don't have that drive from other people. So for me, the biggest like leap in my faith was meeting people who were faithful, who were passionate, who were going to mass and like doing it properly. And that was when it started to click for
Oh my
me.
gosh, I relate to that so much.
Yeah,
Dude, I feel the same way, especially for me with worship of Christian music. So my dad, he really likes a certain style of Christian music that to me feels like very very sorrowful, is the way that I interpret, of like, he seems to focus on like the negative aspect of, well, yes, true, we are all sinners and fall short of the glory of God. You can't just stay in that state and all dwell on only that. We're raised to new life in Jesus, and we have joy in that. And I
yeah,
think that that's all I was exposed to when I was growing up, like this depressive state almost. And same in church, my church was like very traditional and saying like the hymns very solemnly. And something about me didn't really resonate with that at a young age. And I didn't really get it. And eventually I went to a summer camp called Camp Nathaniel. And there I felt like I truly understood what real worship was. Every morning at 7:30, we meet in a gazebo by the lake and we sing worship songs. Just have a guitar, sometimes a cajon for some percussion, but mainly it's just our voices. And that I felt that in my soul of when we were singing these songs of joy and of praise to God, in the morning light, in the fog by the lake. It felt so much more meaningful, and I started to understand what worship really was. And so that completely has changed, my trajectory of what I see as worship and how we sing. That it's like a praise. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be glad in that we're sing praises to God who takes care of us, who protects us and has saved us.
Yeah, one thing that I found that's awfully common within church and people who go to church and believe in a religion is that it takes time with everyone. Like people are
Hmm.
born into it, and like we're saying, it takes time. People show up at 25 like I did, and it still takes time.
Right.
But no one wants it to take time. Everyone shows up because they want to fix whatever they're trying to fix. It's
Right.
like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm having relationship problems. Let me go to church. And it's like, all right, they talked about relationship a little bit, but the problem's not solved. I still have to keep working on it myself. Like church isn't going to just fix everything for you. But like you
Yeah.
said, you shift the perspective of, oh man, my relationship sucks. I'm doing horrible at it to, okay, here's another way I could think of a relationship and how I could do better. It's full of
Yeah.
joy. It's like an exciting moment to acknowledge your faults and be able to work on them with the forgiveness. It's just like when you get in an argument with someone and we both kind of know that person's wrong and the person finally says, "Hey, all right, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong." It's like, "Oh, okay, now we can work with this."
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
we could work with this. You know you're wrong. We could go from here and we could fix this. But without that's the best thing from church is we like at my church we show up in the past is like, all right, we all kind of suck. It's like, yeah, everyone
Yeah.
agrees we all
We're
kind of
all on the
suck.
same page here. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's so important, man. Because like you have like I think Jordan Peterson talks about this. It's like you tell a young person that they're fine the way they are, but that young person's feeling like crap. He's got all of these issues going on. That's the last thing he wants to hear. He's not fine as he are. He needs help. And
yeah,
like we have in the Catholic Mass, like one of the first parts of the Mass is like the public confession. Say, like I confess to Almighty God and you, my brothers and sisters, that I have greatly sinned. And you just start the Mass in silence with that prayer of saying, look, we're all showing up to church. We've all got this past behind us. We've left the world. We've got our families, our relationships, our work, all these issues. Now we're coming here on a Sunday before God. We're acknowledging who we are in front of Him, which is sinners. But then we're saying, now I'm here to accept that love from you. Now I'm here to accept that grace. Now I'm here to be able to move forwards and become a saint. So I think that's massive.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's what turns a lot of people off is the like no one wants to say they're wrong or they suck or whatever, but it just like that is step 1 to getting better is like you got to recognize the problem. It's addiction 101.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to acknowledge that there's a problem here in order to get better. But it's very hard to look inside and be like, "All right, I'm doing poor in this area, doing poor in this area. Maybe I'm doing all right in this area, but there's
Yeah.
like we're both all or we're all kind of saying is we're just trying to learn more about life. Like how
Right.
do I view life? And there's no better time to start than just right now. Just do whatever you can to learn right now how you think for the rest of your life. Figure it out now so when you have kids, you don't have to think about like, all right, how do I
Yeah.
feel about this topic? You already thought about it all. You don't have to think about it anymore. And then you could instill that into your kids. It's like just start. I don't know. It's crucial. No one wants to start now. It's a hard thing to get started. It
Yeah. I think
took me
the other
probably
thing
2
is the
years.
silence. Like Chris was saying about worship, like how he kind of learned to praise, and that was like how he found that really meaningful. I think it's a bit of a balance because if you show up every day to that worship, 6 days a week, what happens on that seventh day when it's not there? You get that massive low, or you feel like that is missing. So I think it's important, like when it comes to our faith, to have those moments of silence, to have those moments of prayer, to say that, look, on the days that I have those worship moments, on the days where everything is going well, on the day when the sun is shining, I'm able to give thanks to God and be joyful. But then I also know, we read the Bible, like most of the stuff in the Bible isn't all happiness and rainbows. Like there's a lot
Right.
of like dark stuff that happens in the Bible. And it's like you gotta praise God and thank Him even on the bad days. So
Yeah,
when
that's
things are up and when things are down, you still
Yeah,
gotta thank God for it.
you guys know of the artist or band Rend Collective?
nope.
From us? Ever heard of them?
No, no.
So they're a band that feels very meaningful to me personally. I love their attitude of things, and one of their songs that I really love is called "Alleluia." Anyway, and it talks about that. Of there's going to be dark times. There are going to be very dark times where everything sucks, and you don't want to be happy. It doesn't feel like you can be happy, but in that, because God is still leading us and God is still, setting us on the path that we're supposed to be on, that we can say Alleluia in that we know that God is our Father and that He is watching over us, that no matter what's going on, we can still praise God. And I think that's a really important mindset to be able to start building, in the good times especially, and then as soon as the bad times hit, to start doing that before we get discouraged of like things start going worse. Hallelujah anyway, like praise God that I'm alive and start trying to find the things that we can thank God for, because no matter what is going on in our lives, there's something that you can be happy for. There's so
Yeah.
many things, the bed that you have, the air that you're breathing, the water that you drink, the eyes that you have. Do you have all four limbs? Oh, thank God I have all four limbs. Like
Yeah.
so many things we can be thankful for, and I think I found a lot of help fruit in that, of trying to focus on that every day, of that gratefulness.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when I started doing all that is it you start to take life day by day
Hmm.
almost. Like I was always trying to control everything, and I think it's just that's what the military did to me. I was just trying to I if I could control everything, I will do it right myself, which is far from the truth. Like I'm gonna mess something up if I'm
Mm.
controlling
Right.
everything. And
Yeah.
from the day I started just believing in God and going to church, it started taking I write down my goals. I got what I want to be when I grow up. I got the year plan. I got the 6-month plan. And then it makes it a lot easier to take it day by day. And that's what you have to do when you're down and depressed. So you may as well start when you're up, start when you're happy.
Right.
Like it's when you
Yeah.
can't get out of bed, you got to take it. I mean, hour by hour sometimes. I know in the army, in the basic training, that's what I was doing. It's taking it meal by meal. Make it to the next meal, make it to the next meal.
Yeah.
When I was depressed, it was just, all right, wake up, get out of bed, brush my teeth, go to the gym. As long as I did those, I know I had a productive day and I could keep moving on. It just then when I started believing, it just made it that much easier to live right now for now. One of my favorite quotes is from Matthew. You don't it was it's you don't need to worry about tomorrow, for it has enough anxiety in it of itself. Like it's Matthew, it's like 3:30 or something. I don't know. But it's one of
Yeah, I
my
know the
or
one you're talking about.
3:16, something like that. Yeah. And when
Yeah.
that was one of the first phrases that stuck out to me. It was like, yeah, no, I I'm gonna be nervous tomorrow about something.
Mhm.
Why am I nervous today about it?
Yeah.
Like it makes it so much easier to focus on what's happening right now when you just kind of let go. And it's hard to let that power go. You don't want to let the power go. You want to feel like you're controlling your life and everything, whether it's good or bad, is because of you. And it's especially hard because God isn't it is not tangible. You can't see the person doing all of the motions or all
Mhm.
putting you in all the places. But once you open your eyes up, for me, it was once I opened my eyes up, now I'm looking for what I didn't control and how well it went. Like
Yeah.
it's a night
Yeah.
and day difference. It's incredible.
Something I found similar to that is thinking of. I've been reading a book relating to the circuits of the brain. It's called Prometheus Rising. And the first circuit, the most primal, is the biosurvival circuit. And so it relates to like instant needs and desires for survival of, oh, I need food, otherwise I'm going to starve. I need water so I don't die. And so when you get in that mind state, it's very stressful for your body, and that a lot of animals are living in that, but at the same time they're so focused on the moment that they're not worried about an animal, a wolf killing a deer. The deer's not worried about that, but the deer is just living life, doing its thing, and as soon as it starts feeling the danger of a wolf in that moment, then it worries about it. But that as humans, we're more intelligent and have a concept of the future, and so we can start worrying about the future of a possible fight or flight moment, even though we're perfectly fine right now. And so that's kind of a drawback that we can fall into as humans, that we can be worried about a fight or flight moment in the future when we're not even in it. And so why would you put yourself into that state when you can not do that, when you can think more rationally and think more critically about a situation and be aware of it, rather than let yourself fall into that anxiety.
So it's hard to have that awareness, like, especially when you're
Yep,
stuck in the moment. It's the biggest thing.
absolutely.
But I think it speaks to Trevor's point well, that sometimes, we can have all these great ideals in our head and we're worrying about tomorrow. But at the end of the day, you get out of your bed, you brush your teeth, and you go to the gym, and you just have
Yeah,
to focus on getting those things right. And then you'll be able to work on the other stuff like soon or in the future. But just get those building blocks in place where you're not hyper stressed about tomorrow. You're not still laying in bed all this time. Your room's not a mess. You actually have a few disciplines built up, and that'll give your mind a bit of free space to breathe. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, I was gonna say the same thing. It's just hard to acknowledge that in the moment. You're like, all right, I need to calm down. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about, like, even now, I'm thinking about the test that I'm gonna have to take after this. I'm thinking about the homework that I have to do after this. Why am I? I'm right here, right now, doing something already. Like,
Mm.
focus on right now. Whatever you have to do to do that. I take deep breaths. It helps me out. What do you guys kind of do to get away from worrying about the future like that?
prayer can be
Yeah, man.
definitely.
I guess
Oh,
the
go ahead.
present moment is the biggest one. Like, you just have to stick to the present moment. Like, sometimes when I go to bed and I'll just start thinking about tomorrow, thinking about all of these things, and it'll be like 10 minutes. I'm just like this, just thinking about all the stuff. Bro, you're in bed, just close your eyes and go to sleep. Like, stop thinking about all the stuff. But like during the day, like, definitely going for walks, going to the gym, just being outside, but just stop doing stuff. Like, stop thinking, stop writing, stop messaging. Just stop and just have a moment. Just breathe, look outside, look at the sun, look at the grass, pray,
Yeah, I
just take
absolutely
it
agree with
easy.
that. I think like being able to allow yourself to be more immersed in the moment is such a key to happiness and enjoying life, that I think is starting to become a little bit more mainstream, but still feels very niche. And I mean, it's like age old wisdom. It's very, very old uh, philosophy that present moment is where you should be, basically. And I think it's very true, is you should be deciding when and where you're thinking. It's like you shouldn't be thinking in your head all the time. As as much as you can, when you're doing stuff and you're going places and you're talking to people, you should be there. You should be talking to that person, rather than thinking about what you're going to say to that person, for example, or thinking about what you're going to do after that, but rather being able to be in that moment, focusing on what's going on there. And if you're at home and you could be thinking about tomorrow or the next day, or what you're going to do with your life, or what you're going to do next week, or who you're going to talk to. You could be thinking about those things, but I think you should be intentional about when you think through things to be able to figure them out. Because we still have to think, right? We still have to
Dang.
decide what we
Yeah.
have to do, but you can choose those times to do those things. Of, instead of sitting at home on your phone, or like let's say you're talking to someone and your mind is worrying about something else. Instead of doing that, try to push that away for now, be present in that moment, but then later go on a walk and think about it. Take that time and be intentional with it, and you're still being present, because that's you're deciding when you're going to be thinking about those things in your life.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that
That's
up a
good.
little bit.
Hadn't heard that
Yeah.
one before. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was gonna bring that up with you, Tomas, because that was the first thing. I always had trouble sleeping. It's just been something since the army that I've had trouble with. But I don't. I think it was maybe my therapist that was talking about it. Was people get in bed and start thinking right away,
Yeah.
and you have to get into the mindset that that's not where you're supposed to think. You're
Yeah.
in bed.
Yeah.
That's not what the bed is for. But everybody thinks in bed because that's the one time they put their phone down to just lay there.
Hmm.
So if you
Yeah.
like Chris is saying, you intentionally go for a walk or even sit outside, feet in the grass and think, you don't have to come back into your bed and think. That's
Yeah.
a huge upside to journaling. Journaling is what I realize. Like when I have something on my mind, I don't know the science behind it, but it's said that when you write something down, the emotions go with it. So,
Yeah.
so when you're thinking in bed, I'm thinking for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I could just sit there thinking in my bed all night long and then never get any sleep because I'm too busy thinking about what tomorrow holds, whatever stance I have on religion, this part of religion, whatever it may be, instead of just writing it down and then coming back to it when you intentionally go to think like he's talking about. But it's incredibly crucial, like you said, to just set up a time of day or even in the week. Good throughout the week, write down what you want to think about. 'Cause that's a big
Yeah.
thing with journaling. Oh, what am I going to journal about? Literally whatever you're thinking about. It's just what do I journal? What's on your mind? That's it. You just take out a piece of paper. All right, I'm worried about this. I'm nervous about this. You write it down and you're like, all right, wait, what am I nervous for? Like I
Right.
just wrote it down. That's kind of it. Like I could think about this
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's not happening right now.
It helps really put things into perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like my number one thing that I advise everyone to do is just start journaling. I try to fill up a page each day. It doesn't happen every day. That's just the goal
Mm.
that I set for myself. If you can write 2 things, 3 lines, whatever it is, write something in your day. You could start with being thankful. Like I typically start with summarizing my day, and then you just go into being thankful for this, go into what tomorrow is going to look like, and it's just like you said, setting up the disciplines, it's setting up your structure for the whole day. Like when you write down what you want your day to look like, you no longer have to think, all right, what do I do after
Yeah.
this? What do I
Yeah.
do after this? It's like, all right, no, yesterday I already said I'm going to do this, 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 and this.
Yeah. Takes practice as well. That groundedness in the moment takes practice, but you get better at it, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. Because how long did it take you to really build your relationship with God? You grew up Catholic, so at what age were you like, all right,
Yeah.
no, I finally have a grasp on who God is to me?
I don't know. I don't know if I have it yet, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's like, oh, definitely better. I think like the biggest point for me was like coming to believe or like coming to realize that Jesus is really present in the Eucharist at Mass. Um, because before that, it's like it took me that specific belief and like practice of the Eucharist to make the link between me here, and God all the way up there. Like that link of Jesus and him having come to earth, like was quite important. But there's things that I realize now, like I don't know, maybe I was reading some specific book that like what Chris was saying is focused heaps on the like the solemn stuff and us being sinners, and that's necessary. Like that's necessary for me to like cultivate repentance and like willingness to become better. But you just don't realize how you get in these different spirals of thought. And I'm reading this really good book now called Interior Freedom, and that brings up stuff that I haven't thought before about like how he made this real cool point that he said sometimes it takes someone else in your life to love you for you to realize the love that God has for you, because you need
Whoa.
that like real world example. You need that loving gaze, and I guess we often have that from our parents, but sometimes we don't. or sometimes when we're older, we just forget about it, and that it takes like someone to love you for that to break through. And I think for me, the other thing that I realized recently is that God doesn't love the person that I'll be in 5 years. He's not loving the great Tomas who is now super big and super strong and super devout and has a family. He loves me as I am right now. He like loves me in every moment. When I got out of bed and I was still tired, when I sat down to pray this morning, he loves me when I went to work. He loves me right now when I'm talking to you guys, and maybe I'm not talking the best, maybe I'm making mistakes. Like, he loves us infinitely in every single moment. It's not, his love for us is not dependent on when we screw up, on when we do it right. But to come to realize that truly right now in this moment, he loves you. He loves you so more than you can ever think. Like, loves you so caringly. He loves you in all your imperfections and all your nuances, and the way that like you're holding the pen, or in the way you talk and the way you tilt your head. He loves you, and he's created you that way. Um, and it's a bit of a relief, because you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And it's not to say you don't have goals and stuff, but to realize that at the end of the day, like, you're still going to mess up. You're gonna sin. You're not gonna hit all your goals. You're
Mhm.
gonna speak badly of your brother. You're gonna swear at him. You're gonna get in a fight. It's just how it happens, man. Like, you can work on that stuff and get better, but you're still gonna screw up whether you like it or not. And God still loves you, and He has always loved you.
Yeah, it's a new concept to me. I grew up with a close family, so I knew they loved me, and it was taken for granted for sure. I took it for granted that my family loved me. It took me a couple relationships and a couple like really good friends for me to realize, all right, why am I here on this earth, and this random other person who's going through just as much, if not
Yeah.
more, of what I'm going through, they still have the the love to help me out, the love to look after my needs and what I want to be when I grow up. Like it's a weird it's a weird idea, but yeah, I never really thought about it the book you had said. You need it,
Yeah.
you need that right in front of you, and it's hard to I think it was taken for granted because I didn't believe in God. I wasn't looking out for those type of things. When someone loved me, it's like, all right, not that especially with family though, I guess is all right, they're supposed to love me, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's deeper than that. Once you start thinking and taking God into account, it's everything changes. Your mind on a daily basis will change, and it's a much better mind to be in. And instead of, oh, how could I mess this? How could I not reach this goal today? What's wrong with me? You
Yeah.
quit asking what's wrong with me, and I start asking, all right, what am I supposed to learn from this? Like everything in life started to become a lesson for me. And
Yeah.
that's what you want. You want all of your experiences to lead up to something. You learn most from when you go through the toughest times. You learn the most when you mess something up as bad as you
True.
can mess it up. That's when you learn. Just like leadership, you learn the most from the worst leader. You don't learn from the good guy because you take it for granted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely eye-opening to start feeling love from God,
Mhm.
because you start loving yourself a lot more. That's where it started with me. It was like I said, it's why am I so bad at this? What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then you finally flip it and you're like, all right, no, God's trying to tell me something. And you're no longer saying, all right, what is wrong with me? You're starting to say, all right, God loves me. He made this imperfection for a reason. He made me mess up here for a reason. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with me. I need to learn from this. It's not like I'm just a horrible person. I have I have to build myself. I'm not going to build myself if I'm already built. I'm done. If I'm done, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're never done. That's why I say jump on it now, because you start building now as soon as you can. Just start. You don't have to believe in all of the gospel. You just have to
Yeah.
start thinking about all these topics, because that's what the Bible is. You have a history book 2,000 years old with lessons from years and years and years and years of experience. And you open up the book and you can read any book in the Bible, and it's like, man, wow, how did they know to write this 2,000 years ago when I'm feeling this right now? It's a weird feeling. Like, man, they were onto something that long ago. And then you start thinking, oh, I'm not the only one that's going through this. They were doing this 2,000 years ago. Like, what am I freaking out about?
Yeah. Yeah, they
So,
had it all sorted way before we got here.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you're not the first person to try and figure this out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
take the knowledge from your past.
I want to share something that happened in the sermon today at church. I found it very meaningful to me personally, and hopefully it could, help others. And so the pastor is primarily talking about the question of what does it mean to live a life worthy of the calling we've received? And it's in First Thessalonians. And so he talked about a few different approaches to that question. And one of those, the first one, was walking in faithfulness in the ordinary things every single day. And that spoke to me a lot of it. The answer, when we're trying to do things well and we're trying to live up to the calling that we have of being great, right? Like, we want to do well, is that a lot of times we want
Yeah.
to do more. Like, we want to do something super big, super epic, awesome. I want to do this thing. But really, a lot of the times what God's calling us to do is to do what we're doing, but do it well, do it excellently, and walk in faith in that God has got your back, and to do the right thing in the small actions in every day, and that you're taking those small steps, right? And so I went hiking yesterday, and I hiked up a mountain, and I felt like it very much related to that of everyone in life has a mountain they're climbing, you know. Everyone, life it has pain, life has suffering, life has trials, and life has difficulty. And a lot of times it feels like it's uphill the whole way. But that's what everyone is dealing with. We're all on this planet for a reason, and we're all having our battles for a reason. But that when you can start to have a purpose of why you're climbing this mountain, of to have a goal to get to the top. And for me as a Christian, that's following Jesus. Is that Jesus is my guide, Jesus is my path, that I'm able to, go up this mountain and put one step in front of another, and that I have faith that Jesus is leading me in the right direction. And that whatever I'm doing, as long as I'm walking in faith, that I'm getting closer to the top. As much as it hurts, whatever is going on, that one foot in
Yeah.
front of the other is going to get me there. And it's not about my perfection, right? Like you guys were talking about, I can't do things perfectly, but that Jesus is perfect and he's my guide. That God has made me
Yeah.
perfectly imperfect, and knows my weaknesses, knows where I'm going to fall, but Jesus is just waiting there with his hand reached out. He wants to help pick me up.
Yeah.
But all we have to do as sinners and as someone who's not perfect is to accept that, and say, hey, Jesus, please help me. I am falling on the ground. I'm all beat up, but can you please help me? And every time his answer is yes. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And so that spoke
True.
to me a lot. This sermon of how I want to live my life is to take that step every day and to just walk confidently and faithfully.
Yeah, it's I read Viktor Frankl's book. I can't remember the name of it, but
Man's search for meaning.
yeah, A Man's Search for Meaning. And that's the quicker you can realize life is suffering, the quicker you get to dealing with it. You have to acknowledge the fact that this, like I said, this all kind of sucks.
Mhm.
this all
Right,
this
right.
this isn't going to be easy. It all kind of sucks. But once you realize that, like we're saying, recognize the problem, you can start working on it. And I would say for the people that like don't believe in God or don't follow a religion, you could kind of just picture it. This is how I picture it a bit, is you have a best friend by your side trying to give you signs without telling you them up front. Like, you have someone to ask all your questions to. You have someone to talk about anything with. When something good happens to you, what do? You call your mom, you call your friend, you call your girlfriend or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You could have someone who, like you're saying, loves you now, forever, for eternity, loves you with ever with all of his heart, pretty much just loves you for anything that you do. you could have that type of person on your team to ask questions. What else could you ask for? Like what like you're going through the thick of it. You have someone you turn to and you're like, all right, what's the answer? And you pay close enough attention to it and you find the answer. It's incredible. What what do you think the biggest misconception of God and religion is? Because there's definitely less people following it now than there was in the past. What what is the biggest misconception that leads people away from it?
I think it comes back to like what we've already discussed a bit, is that people look at it and it's like you just see the rule book, but there's a rule book for everything. There's a rule book in sports, it's a rule book in every single game. That doesn't mean you can't have fun. It just means you have to follow the rules to be able to play the game. Or even marriage, it's like, okay, there's all these rules in marriage. I'm not gonna be sleeping with other people. I'm not gonna be leaving my wife. I have to take after her and pay the bills and stuff. That's just the rules, man. But marriage is like the best thing ever. It's how God intended the relationship to be. So I think just looking at religion, and that it's not about doing the bare minimum. It's not about ticking the boxes, but it's about coming into relationship with God. It's about coming into union with God and with Jesus on the cross. And that there is a way to do it. Like, we have the building blocks here at the start. Like, we have the rules, but then once we're in there, there's this beautiful life of faith open to us, this beautiful life of belief and faithfulness, as Chris was talking about. And that's what brings us to true joy. It's not the stuff in the world. It's not the pleasure, it's not the power, it's not these worldly things. It's that faith, that true faith that brings you hope. And then all the other stuff in life becomes way better when you've accepted that. And when you have that thing at the top, the rest of the stuff is way better. So
Dude, well
I think
spoken,
that's a
man.
good thing. Yeah.
I think that I completely agree with you, Tomas. And one thing I think of a lot is that people think they have to do something. People think that they have like an action, or like this thing that they need to do, or that they have to like give up something. But in reality, you don't have to do anything. Jesus has done it. He has done everything for us. And so all we need to do is accept the gift that he's offering us. That's really all we need to do. Is he wants to help us, he wants to save us, he wants to be our guide, and we just have to say yes. And in that saying yes is we have to surrender to him. And a lot of people are scared of that, but are you going to figure out life completely by yourself? Are you going to
Good
huck
luck.
it? Yeah, good luck with that. We all need help. Your
Yeah.
your parents help raise you in
Yeah.
a way. You learn from them, and you surrender to them as a child, without your choice, as growing up. But that it's okay to surrender to God. Like, who else would you want to surrender to? You know, is that if you're able to surrender to him and be his child, and
Yeah.
live your life through him, that what better way to navigate life than do that?
Yeah, there really isn't an alternative.
Yeah.
I They're really like that's what I view or start seeing more and more of is when I go to church and when I read the Bible, it's weird how it all typically lines up. It's like, oh no, I thought about this before and I was thinking about it wrong. And it's like if I just read the book more or I just talk to God more, it would make everything a lot easier. And you there isn't a down I haven't seen a downside. I don't know where, like, this stigma in my head or whatever it was in my head telling me that there's a downside. Like you're saying, it's a rule book for the game of life. You don't have to follow every rule, but it makes it a lot easier if you do. It's already
Yeah.
figured out, and you should just be trying to do the best you can at beating the game. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be easy, but you can't do it alone either. It's good, like, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Go hop on, like, any baseball field and just play by your own rules. You're gonna look like a clown. You're not gonna win. You're gonna lose. It's that simple. Just like you said, I really love that analogy that you use, man. I'm a sports guy, so that
Yeah.
it makes it a lot
Yeah.
easier to comprehend. But
And that's
Yeah.
one of the
And like when
reasons.
you talk.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Thomas.
When you talk to someone about baseball, you don't tell them about the rules. You tell them about how fun the game is. The rules are going to be there, and I don't want to dismiss the importance because it's obviously very important. But like you read the lives of the saints and stuff, and man, like these people had incredible interior lives, like the happiest people ever to have lived. And I feel like we need to bring that back. It's like with a rational optimism, it's something that really sort of stuck out to me, like as a group, because like we have reason to be happy. We have reason to be joyful and faithful and hopeful about all of these incredible good things that we have. Um, and that's right there, you just got to take that step, build these things into our lives, and it's so much better. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Chris?
I was going to talk about how I started listening to Jordan Peterson a while ago as well. And he definitely radically changed my life and put me on a very good course. And one of the things that I love about him so much is his perspective on how he learns from the Bible and how he teaches others through it, is that he doesn't necessarily talk about it as divine inspiration, but rather something that is useful of there's a reason this has been around for so long. There's a reason why it's so impactful to people. There's a reason it has meaning. Even if you don't believe in God, there's something important here to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Is that this is a universal tool to everyone, not just Christians, not just and to atheists as well, is that we can learn from this, and that as he teaches through that, and also in his book 12 Rules for Life and his second book 12 Rules for Life Beyond Order, he analyzes how to live optimally, right? Like what are some good rules to put in place so that way you can live a good life, that you're successful, that you find happiness, that you're able to help others, right? And that a lot of the principles that he puts forward are so in alignment with Christianity, and
Yeah.
not because necessarily that he's going after that, but because he's seeking truth, right? And God gives us that truth in the Bible. And so if you're seeking truth, you're naturally going to find things that align with the truth of what God has put
Yeah.
forward for us. Because the rules, like you were saying to us, is the rules of the game aren't there because God wants us to follow those rules specifically. It's like, okay, I've set up these rules because you need to follow it for no reason. But there's a reason that
Yeah.
the rules are in place
Yeah.
because those are the best ways to live life, that it's actually your guidebook of success, that it's
Yeah.
the optimal, most sustainable way to live your life. Because if you're not living a life of integrity and honor and patience and humility and all of these things, people aren't going to
Love.
like you. No one wants to talk to you if you're an asshole, you know? And
Yeah.
so if you want to live your life in a way that is sustainable, that builds relations, that helps other people, that is beneficial to others, that is something that builds other people up, because otherwise no one wants to work with you. You're not going to be successful, and you're going to be
Yeah.
miserable because you realize that you're not able to play with the other kids on the playground because you broke the rules. There's a reason they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to jump back real quick to the whole misconceptions. And I
Yeah.
think the biggest one that I ran into was people think that once you start believing you have the rule book so you don't have to think and now it's a cult. But like through this conversation, you're not you're not stopping your thinking. You're not. You enhance it even more is what it is. And I don't know how that could get so messed up to where people think that you're not thinking anymore. You're just following the rules. It's the complete opposite. You start thinking about
Yeah.
everything. It's like, all right, how do I do this the right way? It's not just blindly following a set of rules. It's you've already anybody interested in religion has already shown their curiosity enough to follow the religion. That should
Mhm.
show you that they're curious on how to live it the right way, and like you're saying, the answers are right there. You just have to choose to actually follow them. It's it's they're right there. Got that 12 more rules for life though on my that's what I'm reading right now.
Dude,
Gotta
such depth in
memorize.
that book. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. And what you're
Yeah.
talking about with people, following religion and not thinking, I think that unfortunately that is something that a lot of people fall into. Actually, that a lot of people just show up to church on Sunday, and they don't have their heart in it, truly, that they want like a ticket to heaven, and they want, to be able to subscribe to the religion, but they don't want to live it, and they don't want to think, they don't want to do anything with it. They just, want that easiness that comes with following religion. And so I think that it's something that people need to be woken up to, of that, your religion and your faith is not one dimensional. It's not something that you just subscribe to, show up to church, and boom, you're good, but rather that it's a core part of your life, that, like you were talking
Yeah.
about, it's, your way of interpreting the world. It helps you think through things better, that it helps build you up and makes you a better person. But so many people have fallen into, I think, laziness in that. And so that's one reason
It's
why I
like
love irrational. Yeah.
lukewarmness. Like our Lord
Yeah.
speaks of it in the Bible, like fear becoming lukewarm. Like you're either with me or against me. Like, yeah,
Absolutely. And I think irrational optimism is one of the avenues where we're able to show people that you should put your heart into it, you know? Like it makes things come alive. Like otherwise you're a robot. You're going through life that you're just
yeah,
trying to survive rather than thrive. When you can thrive, you can put your heart into it, and you can find the things that make you feel passionate, because everybody has that, right? Everybody has a fire in their heart that burns for something, and that drives them towards something. But so many have lost that direction, lost that meaning to their life, and all they're trying to do is survive. But if you're able to kind of, have that awareness of, what do I want to work towards, what mission do I want to pursue, that then and only then you can really start driving towards that, and light yourself on fire, metaphorically speaking.
yeah,
Don't worry. And work towards that, and have that goal and that mission. And that, I think, is where so many have lost meaning, but need to find that.
Yeah, it's sad that it's so almost frowned upon now to follow religion or something. Is
Right.
because it's once you're in it, it's like, dude, these are all the answers. I wish everyone would just listen. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to sit back. But
yeah,
to your point, you could live with fire, or me and my brother were talking about this last night. You could live upset.
Yeah.
Those are the two options. He works a
yeah,
pretty standard, I think it's 7 to 3 or something like that, 9 to 5 type job. And people are in there asking him like, why is he smiling? Why is he in a good mood? It's like, dude, I'm here for 8 more hours. Then I drive home. I go to the gym, I eat food, and then I'm back here tomorrow. So I could be upset in the morning, come here upset, be upset in the gym, be upset eating my food. And then when I wake up tomorrow,
mm,
what am I going to do? I'm just going to be upset again,
Mm-hmm.
go back to work upset again. Like, come on. You have to start finding the small joys in life to start living the happiest you can live. But
Yeah, something about that I've been thinking about a lot is what you focus on, is that you're going to find what you focus on. And so if you're upset and you're finding things, you're looking for things to be upset about because you're upset,
yeah,
you're going to notice things that make you more upset. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm already upset. But now I stubbed my toe. And so now I'm super upset. And it's a negative feedback loop, right?
yeah,
But rather we can focus on anything that we choose to. We can bring our awareness to whatever we decide. Um, and if you focus on the light, if you focus on love, if you focus on the good things of this world, then you're going to find those things. You really will, but you have to look for it. And the more you search for it, the more you're going to notice it, the more you're going to see those little joys. And then you cherish that, you relish in it. You you're grateful for it. You thank God. And that's what you live for. And it grows as you focus on it.
yes, sir. Let's shift this into Tomas. You want to go through your business adventure, man? I've been
yeah,
seeing it. It's cool to see it all begin and start, and it's people tell me a lot when I tell them the point of our podcast and the purpose behind it, and they're like, dude, just give it time, it's gonna blow up. And I could see the same within your company that you're trying to run. So
yeah.
What do you got going on, man? How did it start? You said you met all those buddies. I'm assuming those are the buddies that you're
Yeah,
kind of working with now, right?
yeah, yeah. So just an outstanding group of lads, and in particular as well, there's a priest sort of in our community called Father Philip, and he's a young guy, but he's just the go-getter, you know. He'll come out with us on all of our walks. He'll play sports with us. He's right there alongside us in every activity. And this motto from this priest in America who does like bodybuilding is fit for the kingdom. And it's like, are you fit for the kingdom of God? And that was just kind of a theme as the boys that we had, because a lot of us, you know, we go to the gym, we play sports and stuff, and like being physical is a massive part of being a man. And just sort of at the start of this year, you know, you always make jokes. Oh, we should start a podcast. And
Yeah.
well, it stopped being a joke and it became a real thing. So we started this podcast in like May called Fit for the Kingdom. And I guess with everything that you kind of start like that, it's always pretty underground. You know, you manage to sort of pull it together out of heaps of different stuff. Another mate had some microphones and whatnot. And we put out a
Mhm.
few podcasts and we actually liked it. But like, and we're very physical guys, so we thought, man, we need to run like a camp for the boys in our parish and stuff. So sort of one of the first things we did was it was like a 4-wheel drive retreat. So we got our trucks together and we went like off-roading because here in New Zealand you can drive through rivers because they're not too shallow. So we went like right into the mountains. There was snow on the mountains and stuff, and we had a mass out there. So Father Philip came with us. Just a really cool like adventure experience for the boys, and obviously talk a bit about the faith to them. Just enjoy some time together as lads, and we've helped out at some youth camps and stuff. But it's just become this really cool thing in that, you know, I don't have all the answers. Like none of us have all the answers, but in that we are faithful guys, and we sort of have like an affinity to sports and stuff. There's a lot of boys who like, but it's like a way that we can reach out to young people, not just boys, but boys and girls, and that, you know, we've got to be able to get physical with them. So we just, you know, enjoy just some time with sports and stuff, spend time with them, like interact with them, and bring them to the faith. Not really bringing them, but just to be able to bear witness to them. I think that's actually the word, to bear witness. So that we're alongside you. We're going to go to the gym together, going to have fun together, and then we're going to pray together as well. Um, and there's been an awesome response to that, and I found that I enjoy it like way more than I thought I would, just doing all this stuff and these projects and camps. Like, I've had so much fun. um, and they invited us, or I guess this is all pretty like New Zealand, there's not many people here, so it's pretty, we've only got like 350 followers on Instagram, but somehow these guys in Sydney saw our page, like Sydney Catholic Youth, and they invited us to be part of this conference, like over 2,000 people, and there's like some big international speakers coming and stuff. So that was
Wow.
sort of the latest development. Yeah. So that's uh, December 7th and 8th in Sydney, Australia. So I'm pretty fired up for that.
That's
But yeah, it's
incredible,
just been
man.
God
Yeah,
opening.
congrats.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's very humbling, you know, because as much as our efforts like take us, as much as we're the ones organizing, there's been a lot of stuff, just coincidences or providence that, you know, it wouldn't have happened otherwise, and really just God allowing us to do our work and speaking to the hearts of young people. So hopefully it keeps going, you know.
No, like I'm saying, man, that's critical. Yeah, congrats on everything. It is when you first start something like that, you can't picture where it can go. You can't even
Yeah,
imagine it, you know. And like I was saying before, the disconnect just between the general population and religion is something that we're gonna have to get over in order to become the best world and population humanity. Um, we have to bridge that gap. So something like what you're doing is incredible and is
yeah,
needed.
yeah,
You don't learn it. You can't go over here in America. I can't go to school and learn it. They take it out of school.
right,
I got to pay extra to go
yeah,
to school and learn this. And I was poor, so I didn't get to. And this, you don't learn it from. You have to learn it. You have to go do the work. No one's gonna help you
yeah,
out over here. And it's a lot easier when I have someone like you. I could hit up and say, dude, like, I'm just struggling with God. I don't understand what's going on. Things are just kind of spiraling out of control.
yeah,
what can I do? And for a kid who's 16, I know I didn't like going to my parents. I just didn't. I wasn't that open with them. I wasn't on that level with them. So for someone like you, well, you're early 20s,
Yeah, 21.
yeah, helping other kids like that is it's incredible, and it's crucially needed because it's like we're saying, it's this is how you live life. And if you start now, if I started at
Yeah,
16, I couldn't believe where I'd be at. Like
100%. Yeah. And they just need someone to talk to, eh? Like we often think we need these massive programs and lectures, and it's nothing like that, man. You've just got to spend time with people and become friends with them. And then there's room for us to have conversations like this. But you're not going there and reading from the Bible. They just need someone to walk beside them for a bit. And then the other stuff will come later.
yeah, it's uncomfortable. Especially there's a lot of scrutiny towards religion right now, so it's hard to jump open arms and stand in your faith
Yeah.
during a time like now, especially if you're alone. Like me doing this alone over here, it kind of sucks. And then my cousin started going, and my other cousins wanting to start to go,
Right.
and then my brother, and then it's just like you said, having someone to talk to about it is so important. If you can't talk, then you just start thinking more. And if I can't talk to you about it, it's just going to spiral out of control. I'm going to think of it this way, this way, this way, this way, and I'll never get my thoughts concrete enough until I start talking to someone about it. And that's another thing you could do if you are in a position that you can't find a community or a group. First off, check out Tomas's stuff, but if you can't do that, start video journaling. And it's so funny to me when people like growing up and you get made fun of if you talk to yourself. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
talk to yourself. What a weirdo, what a loser. I talk to myself all day long. And one this podcast kind of stemmed from me doing that video journaling. And then I'd go back and I'd watch it. I'm like, man, like you could see where your
Yeah.
head was at. And then you just dial in a little more and you just slowly start not perfecting your viewpoints, but you're able to lay it out a lot easier. And if it's a lot easier to do that than it is to write. People don't want to write now, that's fine. Just hop on your
Yeah.
phone, set it up
The
on the
voice
wall.
recorder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything. You could do anything. And it's crucial to be able to maybe not get the like confirmation or like someone telling you, hey, no, you are doing it right. I can't think of the word now.
Yeah, like
Like you
affirmation or something.
affirmate, yeah, like you want them to tell you that you're doing it right. It's not even that. It's more so like for me at least, it's like, hey, am I not crazy? Like, does this make sense to you? I just need to bounce the idea off of you just to make sure that I'm not crazy. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's unique. Everybody's got a unique idea. It's like, am I really crazy? And you talk to a friend and it just gets infinitely better. That's why God's good too. You can like, all right, what am I might be crazy here talking to myself. Like,
And that's
it's
why I love irrational optimism, because it's like people might tell you, "Oh, bro, you're crazy. Don't try that. That's too much." Then you go to
Mhm.
irrational optimism, and everyone's like, "Yeah, come on, let's go."
Yeah, how crazy
We
can
need
we
more of
get?
that in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, because I go around and people think I'm a lunatic around here. Like that, even just the day-to-day job. If I had no internet and had to work my day-to-day job where I do, it would be it would be brutal. I don't know how I would do it because
yeah,
everybody thinks I'm insane. Like, Trevor, how do you wash your hair with an egg? Like, dude, you're nuts. Why are you eating just chicken? Why? I pull up with a pound of ground beef. Dude, what are you doing? You're just eating a pound of ground beef. I'm like, yeah. Trying to get big. Like, they're stuffing down their
let's
Doritos and
go.
stuff. Like, "Who's this crazy
Yeah,
guy?" I was like, "This isn't even that crazy, man." Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. You're doing it wrong. I'm not the crazy one. But you can
yeah,
easily fall into that little hole of, "Oh, I am the crazy one," if you're surrounding yourself with the wrong group of people.
yeah. That's why you've got to be so careful with those external influences, like whether it's real people or online. Because if you're like in the wrong circles, like listening to your schoolmates and stuff, they think you're an absolute lunatic.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or your family sometimes. Even, yeah.
Yeah. No, when I brought up the idea with the podcast, everyone was like, "All right, dude, go ahead." Like, good luck.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
come on, somebody help me out. It's not that crazy. I can make a lot of money online if I do it right and actually
Yeah.
give a shit about it. It's what I want to do. Like,
Yes, people are so quick to shut down at dreams, shut down ideas. Never give it a chance for that idea to actually show what it's worth.
yeah, and then you start doing it to yourself. Like I was telling you before the show, Chris, is things that I've been wanting to do my whole life, I'm finally starting to do.
Yeah.
And it's the only reason I didn't do it before is because I was telling myself I shouldn't be doing it. Like I got a motorcycle. I was telling myself you shouldn't do that. Like no one agrees with you on this. You shouldn't do that. And then finally I just went and got my own motorcycle. Reffing hockey. I've always wanted to do it. It's finally, I don't know why I would always tell myself not to do it. Oh, that's not a real job. Just all these little things in my head because all what everyone else is telling me. You have to start. It's thinking for yourself, and it's hard to do because it takes a lot of brain power. You know, it's not like every day isn't easy. It's not going to be easy. When you're thinking for yourself, you got to put a lot more of your life, a lot more of your soul and care and heart into the world. It's a lot harder than just walking around the world doing whatever you want day to day. Just nothing matters. Like it's a lot harder to sit down and think about this stuff. And I don't I don't knock anyone that does or that doesn't think about it. Like my brother's a good example. He doesn't think too in depth about things. He just goes about life. He's a happy dude. He doesn't do any wrong. He just lives life, and that's fine. We need those people too. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. If you want to follow the basic rules of God and just be a nice person, be honest, have integrity, be a good person, and not dig too deep into it, do it. Do it. What else are you gonna do? Like, that's my thing. Everybody is so quick to knock it and knock religion. It's like, dude, what else am I gonna be doing? I'll be on social media following someone else's ideology then. Like this,
Yeah.
I'm following
Yeah.
some ideology. I may as well pick a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to pick your poison.
Yeah, life is suffering. You got to choose your suffering. It's a good old Jordan Peterson.
Otherwise, it'll choose you. I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's how it goes.
Yep, that's exactly what happened to me, man. And it's I mean, we could keep saying it over and over again, man. It's hard to do. That's why, like I said, when I walk into church and I see everyone in there trying to better themselves, it's like, man, like good for all of you guys in here. Like you
Right.
immediately stop judging people once you start going realizing how much you're messed up and how much more you could fix and where you're wrong. You immediately just stop judging people. Just even on the road, the simplest things. I could be like, oh, why is this guy not turning red? Why would he get in the right lane at a red light so that I
Yeah.
can't turn? It's the little things. Why is this guy speeding at 90 miles per hour? It's like, oh, well, maybe his kid's dying. You just have so much more grace and you give people a lot more leeway than if you were just living your life.
Yeah, and with that, it's like, what benefit is it to be upset at those things? You know, it's like a Stoic philosophy of it's outside of your control. Why would you let that influence you and make you sad or make you upset? That's just letting it control you. And it's not about you. If someone cuts you off, that's I guess that sucks, but you didn't die, you didn't
Yeah.
crash. Be thankful for that. They're just doing their thing.
Yeah, it's a way better life. What advice would you give someone who has just kind of been on the verge of trying to put their faith into a religion? What would be one thing you would say to them on how to start, how to finally just put a toe in the foot or put a toe in the pool and just test the waters or something, you know?
I believe the most important thing is to start talking to God. He's always there. And so just voice your thoughts to him, of speak out loud to him, in your own privacy, of be honest with him. Just be so honest, be brutally honest. It's like, and say, Lord, I have no idea what is going on. I have no idea what to believe. I have no idea who I am, what to do, anything like that. But to ask for help, to just say, I know something's out there. I know something is greater than me. And, ask for that to help show you the light, help lead you towards the truth. And when you start praying that and start looking for that, God will move through you. I mean, I think it's Psalm 9:10 is one of my life verses. And I believe it goes, for those who put their trust in you, Lord, you have not forsaken, or you will not forsake those who seek you. And that if you're seeking God, he'll meet you there.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's what Chris said. You've got to start by putting yourself in that disposition, on like kneeling and sitting down every morning and say, look, Lord, I don't believe in you yet. It's true. I don't believe it yet. But if you are there, if you are real, then make yourself known to me. And just to like that humility, it takes humility to do that. But I think doing that daily, and like, we talked about it before, like Chris and I, we still have miles to go, but it's just about showing
Amen.
up every day with that humility and saying, I'm here now in church on a Sunday because I want to get better. I want to believe. I want to grow in love. I want to grow in virtue. And it takes time. It's not going to come like that.
Yeah, that's both good answers. That the adding the time part is crucial because people think, oh, I got the rule book, everything's gonna be fine now. And it's just life will never be an easy breeze, man. There's always gonna be something. It's a rude
Yep.
awakening. It kind of like it sucks. Like we say, it sucks, but you get equipped with the right tools to take it on. And I mean, I was trying to find I think people will slowly find religion anyways, because if you are curious enough to try and figure out where you're going wrong and what you need to do to be better, it all ends up meeting at religion. You could follow Jordan Peterson, Jocko, anybody, and
Yeah.
what I kind of realized almost immediately was, man, all these rich, disciplined people who are living a life that I would love to live are all believing in a God. That's that's where that's the one thing I'm missing. It's hard to start because, I mean, we've said it before, it's not right in front of you. But once you sit down, that's a good step, like you guys are saying. That's a perfect first step. Just start talking to him. And once you start talking to him, he's in your mind more and more. It's like I started praying once a week, once a month. Now I'm at every day. I pray once. And now it's slowly
Yeah.
building up to where if I run into an issue, even yesterday, I was out with my brother at a bar. I literally took a knee down at the middle of the bar and started praying, and he was right next to me. We never done that before, but it was like, all right,
Yeah.
I kind of just want to pray right now. I have something on my mind. I'm just gonna say it. Why not? And you just start diving deeper into faith. And I would say there's I would say for me the biggest struggle was understanding faith. I didn't understand what faith even was. It's like just believing everything's actually going to be okay. Because once you get into that hole that everything sucks, like we were saying, you start finding more things to be upset about and more things. And then it just keeps stemming and stemming, the negative feedback loop. You have to start believing that no, this does get better. There's no reason for me to
Yeah.
keep suffering this much. It'll get better at some point, but you have to be patient. Like you said, the time is so crucial because we want it to change now. We want it to all be better now, but it's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I think it's a bit like strength and training in the gym as well. Like you're not gonna have massive biceps after doing one workout. You work out for 6 months in a row. Some of us do, but you work out for 6 months. You might be a little bigger after that, but that strength and size that comes way later on. But it's today. Today you've got to go to the gym. Today you've got to kneel down and pray. And God willing, that faith and that strength that's going to come in the future. But what we do
Mhm.
now today, you've just got to take that action, make that action.
Yeah, my pastor was talking about faith recently, and I love how he talked about it. He uses Hebrews 11 as a basis, and so Hebrews 11 verse 1 says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." I think that's really what it comes down to, is that we can't see God, and so in order to trust in Him, we have to have faith. Faith is something that happens when you're trusting in something that you don't see, that it's invisible, that that's what God wants from us, and that he loves that when we do that, when we put our faith in him, that we say, God, I can't see you, but I hope, I want to believe, right? Like Tomas was saying, of praying that God, please reveal yourself to me. I don't have
Yeah.
that faith yet. I don't know yet. I don't have that assurance, but I
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, it's a, I kind of want to touch on, just because it's something that I've always had trouble dealing with,
Mhm.
especially if you're just a smarter person in general. And like, people will tell you, I was told my whole life, you're just a smart kid. You don't have to study for school. You're just good at school. You're a smart kid. And I thought I was, and I thought I knew everything, and I thought I could know everything. Then my mind would get wrapped up in even like the idea of faith. It would get wrapped up, and that's when you have faith. It's like, all right, I don't know. I don't know. This is too complex for me to comprehend. And that's when you have to believe, all right, no, there's something bigger out there that's moving these pawns, because there's no way I could understand how what I'm doing and what I'm going through. I was asking myself why a lot. Like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen? What? And it was just constantly asking myself why, trying to figure stuff out. It's like, dude, you're not going to figure it out. It's not meant for you to figure out. Like,
Mhm.
you don't need to know how this works. You just have faith, and you just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely books to read and arguments and debates to be had. I don't think this is the podcast for it, but like, there's stuff there if you need. Like, there's a massive intellectual tradition, like, of faith and of the church and all of that. But at the end of the day, it does come down to that. Just it comes down to faith.
Yeah.
You can't force it by will.
All right. Kevin's not here, so I got to think of a final question. Got to wrap it up soon. Your boy's got some homework to do that I procrastinated too long to do. A mess. Can't believe I did it to myself, but you live and you learn. Um,
Yep.
what is what is something that you would tell? It's gonna be interesting to hear, because everyone was different at 16, especially for someone like me who didn't follow religion at 16. What is something you would tell your 16-year-old self about faith and religion? What is like one nugget where you could plant this seed,
Damn.
and your faith would bloom through it?
Oh, that's a great question. I got to think about this for a second.
Yeah. Dang. Well, for me, probably I was at a stage where I just needed to be told to like kneel down and shut things off and just give yourself and God the time, because at that stage I wasn't giving myself any time or space to do anything. Just just sit down and think for a bit, think about
Mhm.
why you're here or who put you here. That'll really be the main thing, I think. Just start spending a bit of time.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. Go ahead.
that I think I have a similar thought of I wanted to do this when I was 16, and I did have a relationship with Christ at that time, but I didn't commit to that daily, of spending time in God's word. And so I think if I was able to say something to my past self, I would shake him and look him in the face and say, you need to read your Bible every single day, and just get that ingrained in him, to be like, I know you want to, and I know you're trying, but you need to actually do it. Because that's what felt like, is that I kind of had this half-hearted, like, oh, I know I should do it, but I'm not going to really commit to it. It didn't seem that important, but to really get across that that is the way to grow your faith so much faster, and to become stronger in that, and to find the depth in your relationship with Christ, is to spend that time in the word every single day, and spend that time alone, just you and God, in a conversation of that. Is the way that you're going to be able to continue to progress.
Yeah. Great answers. I think mine would be pretty similar. It's like, look, man, you need to take a couple deep breaths and breathe and start searching for your reasoning now. Start searching what you're here for now.
Mhm.
Like you said, take the time. You take the time out of your day to go play hockey because it's fun. Take the time out of your day to go to school because you have to. This is something that I wish I could go back and just be like, hey man, this is going to help you out infinitively. Like there's no, I couldn't put a finger on the ceiling of where this could go. But if you just start now, kid, you'll be in a way better position than a lot of people, and it'll only reap good rewards. There's nothing bad that will come from this.
It's true.
Is I think
Yeah.
one of the biggest things. Yeah. But all right, fellas, thank you for coming on, man. Thanks, Chris, for hopping on here too, man. You made it a lot easier for me because Kevin's not here. Kevin will be back on the next one, I'm sure. But
Of course. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with some like-minded fellows and just discuss, I love it.
Yeah, that
yeah,
was fun, man. Good stuff.
the time flies every time, man. It's so crazy. Just you get into this flow state of conversation that you don't. It's not always happening. Like that's why I like it. Like we say, intentionally put time aside for this. That was one of the big reasons for it. Is like, all
Yeah.
right, let's all think together on this one. What can we try and figure out?
Right.
What can we? And I think it's just so cool. Social media podcasting is just such a great way to enhance your mind, especially like you're sitting in the room with Jordan Peterson pretty much, It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're in the conversation with them pretty much. So I thank you guys for coming on. We'll leave links for your business and everything down below. And yeah, we'll catch y'all on the next podcast. Thanks for tuning in.